Have you ever heard of a bee the size of your thumb? Not a bumblebee, not a carpenter bee, but a true giant of the insect world. Today, we're diving deep into the jungles of Indonesia to uncover the story of one of the most mysterious and elusive creatures on the planet, WALLACE'S giant bee. This isn't just any bee. It's the largest bee in the world, and for decades, it was thought to be completely extinct. So, grab your explorer's hat, because we're about to go on an adventure to rediscover a living legend. First, let's get the introductions out of the way. Meet Megachild Pluto, or as it's more famously known, WALLACE'S giant bee. How giant are we talking? A female can grow up to 1.5 inches long, with a wingspan of over 2.5 inches. To put that in perspective, that's about 4 times the size of a regular European honeybee. Imagine one of those buzzing past your ear. The males are smaller, but still impressively large. But it's not just their size that's remarkable. The females have these enormous, beetle-like mandibles that stick out from their head, almost like a pair of tiny antlers. They look pretty intimidating, but we'll get to what they use those for in a bit. The story of this bee starts back in 1858 with a famous naturalist, Alfred Russel Wallace. You've probably heard of him. He co-discovered the theory of evolution by natural selection alongside Charles Darwin. Wallace was an intrepid explorer, spending years trekking through the Malay archipelago, documenting incredible new species. On the remote Indonesian island of Bacon, he stumbled upon this colossal bee. He described it in his notes as a large black wasp-like insect with immense jaws like a stag beetle. It was a monumental discovery, but after Wallace's sighting, the giant bee seemed to vanish from the face of the earth. For over a century, no one saw it again. Scientists and entomologists searched, but found nothing. The bee became a ghost, a legend whispered among insect enthusiasts. Many feared it had gone extinct, lost forever due to habitat loss or other unknown factors. Then, a glimmer of hope. In 1981, over 120 years after Wallace's discovery, an American entomologist named Adam Messer was doing research in the same region, the North Moluccas Islands of Indonesia. He was determined to find the lost bee. He spent weeks searching, guided by Wallace's original, somewhat vague descriptions. He focused his search on termite mounds, a key detail from Wallace's observations. And then he found it. He discovered not 1, but 6 nests on 3 different islands, and finally confirmed that Wallace's giant bee was not extinct. It was an incredible rediscovery, a moment that sent ripples of excitement through the scientific community. It proved that even when we think something is gone, nature can still hold onto its secrets. But after Messer's rediscovery, the bee once again slipped back into obscurity. The islands where it lives are remote and difficult to access, and the bee itself is incredibly rare and shy. Decades passed, and again, sightings became non-existent. It was almost as if the bee had played a game of hide-and-seek with humanity, and won. The world was left wondering, was it gone for good this time? Fast forward to 2019. A team of international and Indonesian researchers and photographers decided to mount a new expedition. This wasn't just a scientific trip, it was a quest. They wanted to find the bee, photograph it, and share its story with the world, hoping to spark conservation efforts. The team included nature photographer Clay Bolt, entomologist Eli Wyman, and two Indonesian guides and scientists, Iswan and Eka. They knew the odds were stacked against them. They were searching for a single, rare insect in a vast, dense, tropical jungle. For days, they hiked through the hot, humid forest, inspecting every arboreal termite mound they could find. Arboreal means living in trees, which is where this bee makes its home. They were starting to lose hope. After 5 days of fruitless searching, their local guide pointed out a termite nest about 8 feet up a tree. It looked like any other nest they had already checked. But Clay Bolt decided to climb up for one last look. As he peered into a hole in the side of the nest, he saw something dark move inside. He called down to his partners, his voice filled with a mix of excitement and disbelief. Using a blade of grass to gently coax the occupant out, they were met with the sight they had dreamed of. There she was, a living, breathing female WALLACE'S giant bee, staring right back at them. It was a moment of pure, unadulterated joy. They had found the lost giant. Clay Bolt managed to take the first ever photos and videos of a living WALLACE'S giant bee in its natural habitat. The images are breathtaking. You can see her giant, shiny black body and those incredible mandibles. They had not only rediscovered the bee, but also documented its behavior. This is where those massive jaws come into play. The female bee uses her mandibles like a shovel and a scraper. She collects sticky tree resin and wood fibers, rolls them into a ball, and carries this construction material back to her nest inside the termite mound. This is genius for a few reasons. Living inside an active termite mound provides protection from predators and a stable, climate-controlled environment. The termites don't seem to bother the bee, and the bee doesn't bother the termites. It's a perfect example of commensalism, where one species benefits and the other isn't affected. Inside the termite mound, the female bee uses the resin she collected to build a series of chambers, lining the tunnels to make them waterproof and secure. This is where she lays her eggs and raises her young. The resin acts like a super-strong, waterproof cement, protecting her offspring from both the elements and the termites themselves. It's an incredible feat of insect architecture. Unlike honeybees that live in huge social colonies, WALLACE'S giant bee is more of a solitary or communal nester. Several females might build their nests in the same termite mound, but they don't have a queen or a complex social structure. Each female builds and provisions her own nest. The 2019 rediscovery was a massive victory for conservation. It brought global attention to this amazing creature and the urgent need to protect it. But the story also has a darker side. Shortly before the official rediscovery was announced, a specimen of a WALLACE'S giant bee was sold online for thousands of dollars. This highlighted a serious threat, poaching, and the illegal wildlife trade. The bee's rarity and legendary status make it a highly coveted item for some private collectors. This puts immense pressure on the already tiny and vulnerable populations. If collectors and poachers know where to find them, they could potentially wipe them out. This is why conservation is so critical. The forests of the North Moluccas are under threat from deforestation for agriculture, particularly palm oil plantations. Every tree that's cut down could be a home for a Wallace's giant bee. The Indonesian government and conservation organizations are now working to protect the bee's habitat. The goal is to get the region recognized as a protected area, which would help safeguard not just the giant bee, but all the other unique biodiversity in these islands. The rediscovery team made a conscious decision not to reveal the exact location of their find to protect the bees from poachers. Their hope is that by making the bee a flagship species, a charismatic symbol for conservation, they can rally support to protect its entire ecosystem. The story of Wallace's giant bee is a powerful reminder of how much we still have to learn about our planet. It shows us that there are still wonders hidden in the wild, waiting to be discovered, or, in this case, rediscovered. It's a tale of adventure, of scientific mystery, and of hope. Hope that it's not too late to protect the world's most vulnerable species. This thumb-sized bee, with its giant jaws and secretive life, has become an ambassador for the forgotten and the overlooked creatures of the world. Its survival now depends on us. On our willingness to protect the wild places it calls home, and to fight against the illegal trade that threatens its existence. It's a big responsibility, but one we have to take on. The story of the world's largest bee is far from over. Let's make sure it has a happy ending. Thank you so much for joining me on this incredible journey to find the real-life behemoth. If you found this story as fascinating as I did, hit that like button and subscribe for more adventures into the natural world. And let me know in the comments what other mysterious creatures you'd like to see me cover next. See you in the next video.